Hey everyone, Zach Wright, founder of Grapevine, and I want to dive in a little bit more on the behind the scenes. And I've always tried to figure out how to do this as a solo founder, as a remote founder. Um, and this is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to take you behind the scenes on a story of how we made a mistake whenever we were building spaces, and we're correcting that now. But the mistake that I'm talking about is choosing not to add sub pages. And there's one other thing that I'll show you visually, because it's kind of hard to explain, but not having sub pages, and then also this one other issue. So whenever I look at these cards, right, these squares that I see in the spaces, I look at them as cards. And so when I look at this onboarding card, the reason that we thought that we didn't need subspaces was, or subpages, was because I looked at the space card as like, okay, here's the main page, right? And then whenever I click inside of it, these are the subpages that work, right? So if I needed something in that specific topic, then I would just put it in a new page. But what happens is, as you get longer documents or longer processes or onboarding, whatever the case is that you have in a space, it gets a little complicated. And so I myself, as we launch spaces, I started using it every single day. I still use it every single day. And I was frustrated with not being able to have sub pages and have kind of like a top category up here with the sub pages that fall underneath it, and just the ability to break things down into a little bit more tangible documents or pages, however you want to call it. Right now, the other thing that I mentioned I was going to show you is the other part of the mistake. So if I go here now, it's going to look right because I'm going to make a change on the welcome to Grapevine, and then the 1 is going to go up to the 2. So let me just give a space right here. So now whenever I click out of here and come back in, you'll see that it changed back here. So the way that we started off with this is the page that was the last modified goes up to the top. And our thinking was, okay, if you have a knowledge document or if you're managing some project details, you probably want to know when was the last time that this has been edited, right? But if we look at this, we can see the last modified still lives in the space or in the page itself. So we don't actually need that. And it's a little bit frustrating. Now you can see I have the numbers here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Luckily, that's how they're in order. But if somebody came in here and then added something, new FAQ, right, then I don't want to refresh, because sometimes when I refresh, the video goes away. So now that becomes number 5 at the number 1 spot. So let's look at what this is going to look like in Grapevine in the future. And in the future, I mean like this week or next week. So don't worry about the UI, UX. This is the part of building in public. You got to show the ugly parts before we get the UI, UX corrected. But what you'll see here is now I have the welcome new hires, and then I have the drop down. These are going to be a little bit more smushed together, so it doesn't look so wide. And then this isn't going to be here because it'll go all the way down. But so I have this to the welcome new hires. And so I can read this to kind of get an idea of what's in this, of what's in these sub pages below. So now I've read this, I'm welcomed, and then it says start here. So I'm going to go in here. We have Loom. So if you have, God, that was loud. I don't know if you heard it, but you can come in here, you can interact, you can even ask comments in here as well. And anyway, you see spaces. The point of this video is to show you what's going on. And so we're adding these sub pages, and we're also able to move the sub pages up and down, right? So we can go like that. My OCD kicks in. We can also move the pages themselves too. So that's going to be super important. And again, it's like one of those simple things that you might not think that you need until you use the product, and now you need to bring it in. So that's what we're doing. But here's the bigger benefit for me personally as someone who uses Spaces literally every single day. What I'm going to be able to do now. So I like to use this marketing example because we have a couple of things here in marketing. So we have the marketing space. I need to change that picture. Don't look at it. But we have the marketing space. And then we have one, so future of work weekly report, 2 website details and updates, 3 Grapevine blog posts and Spaces, maybe a couple of other things here, like the event, running remote event. So that would be 4. So whenever we get subpages inside of Grapevine and we're able to organize them how we want them to be, all of those are going to go into this marketing space. Same thing with my stuff. So the founder retreat, the daily founder checklist, the important notes, like this is an example of a one-on-one space, but I would bring that in there too, possibly. And then we look at the revenue team. So we got, let's see, go to market 1, 90-day 2, sales best practices 3, all those are going to go into the revenue space. So I've calculated this already. I'm going to be able to take 14 to 15 spaces and condense it down to 3. So this is something that, like, if we weren't using our own product, we wouldn't have experienced it personally and understood the priority that we needed to switch gears and make this a reality. And then 2, we have customers that are using Grapevine who has suggested this to us too. So the way that we look at it is, okay, whenever we're first building the first version of whatever it is, so this would be the first version of Spaces, we always go for the MVP version. And then we will discuss, as we're building the MVP version, what does the pro version look like? So that way, whenever we get this feedback or we experience it ourselves and it becomes a priority, we already kind of understand what are the certain things that we need to do. So now what we did was, whenever we learned this from our customers and experiencing it ourselves, we took the step back and said, okay, is this a priority? Like, how frustrating is this? And since I use these every day, it's very frustrating. Since we hear it from customers, we know that it's frustrating for them, right? And so luckily we built great partnership with the customers that we do have, but a new customer could be more likely to churn quickly, right? So these are the things that we're thinking about. We build for the MVP knowing that there could be something that improves it down the road, but we launch it and then we try to learn from it. But this was a mistake that we did because we chose to go a different direction, knowing, or I guess hindsight's 2020, but now knowing that these were built this way for a reason. If that makes me sound a little dumb, that's okay. But hopefully this video is kind of tapping into some of the behind the scenes on how we think as a product team and how we're building Grapevine. We're not just building it in a silo. We're trying to work with our customers and really focus on the problem that we're trying to solve. We're not trying to say, this is our product, this is how you have to use it, but more so we're saying, here's our product. How can you help us make it better for you and your team moving forward? So I don't know if this is building in public or not, but I'm trying to get more out there. So drop some comments on what you might want to see from a founder, from a team that's building in public, and we'll try to get those over to you. And it helps us with what to think about to get out to you guys. So thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.